Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Rumbi from the future. I've just edited the video you're about to see. I apologize for the poor sound quality, but the content of the video is really good. There's some great advice in there for anyone that's looking for info about the SJT. So yes, sorry about the poor sound quality and the lighting, but bear with it because the video's actually got some really good content. Enjoy and thank you for watching.
So our SJT is in 16 days.
Oh gosh.
Is it in 16 days?
2 weeks basically, yeah.
Oh my god.
2 weeks Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's coming real soon. And so I thought, because there's not really that much on the internet about practicing for SJT from students that are practicing at that time, if that makes sense. Like people film the videos when they're F2 or F1 and they've done it and it's passed. We're literally in it right now. This is it.
Dun dun dun.
Honestly, it's actually crazy.
Yeah.
And well, if you're a medical student and you're watching this video, you know what the SJT is or you've heard of it.
Yeah. But just like any new exam that you don't know what they're gonna ask, it's the same sort of feeling. Like we don't know what SJT is gonna be like. We don't know how to study for it. Like we do know like you're supposed to like go through the past papers and like the books and stuff, whatever. But there's that sense of uncertainty that you don't know how exactly you should study for it. You know what I mean? Other than the past papers, which is like 100% should go over the past papers.
And everyone does it slightly differently. I know the three of us have gone about it just slightly different ways. So we'll start with you, Nausheen. You can talk about how, when you started practicing for the SJT, how you've done it and kind of what you've used.
So when did we first get back to uni?
September time.
September, right, so literally in the first 2 weeks.
I remember intro week, you had your book.
Yeah, so I got the book over summer, didn't touch it.
Which
and
book
then
was it?
it's in my bag, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like practicing for SJTs.
Okay.
We'll link the
link it, yeah.
Down below.
And then I printed off the 2 papers online and then printed off the score sheets like 5 times. I did them both, paper 1 and paper 2 in the first 2 weeks, and then marked them over the week after. And then I left it. Basically started getting confused, started second questioning my answers, and it's like the more I did it, I was overthinking it. And then so after 3 weeks I did this book, and the book made me even more confused, so now my plan is to go back to the papers and see if I've improved my answers.
And Yalda, how have you gone about it, and when did you start?
So I started by first getting the Oxford Handbook of Clinical Assessment, is that what it's called? We'll link it down below.
Yep.
I thought that was really good. The reviews online aren't that great, to be honest. They say that the rationale isn't similar to the one that's the past papers that are online. But I thought the rationales make sense, even if they're not exactly the same. But I use it for like more questions because there are just 2 past papers online, and like you can only like memorize fine, but not necessarily like the same questions are going to come up. So I just use the questions for the Oxford Handbook and try to like go through the rationale. If I think it's not similar to the one the same as the past papers, I try to like see, okay, what sort of thing that I have to change, you know what I mean? But I don't 100% go about the Oxford Handbook. I would recommend doing the past papers. I did the past papers early on as well, and I've done them like 2 times I think, and I'm going to do them again. So just do them as much as possible. And if you feel like you're just done with the past papers, maybe try a book, and I would recommend only one book because the books have different rationales and you will get confused. Even solving the Oxford Handbook, I felt like I was a bit confused because the rationales at times are slightly different from the past papers, which is not good. Even though they make sense, I don't know, it's just, I don't know how they like make up these rationales, but you just have to think the way GMC thinks.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I tried reading the documents online as well, but see, when you're reading the documents, they all make sense, but that doesn't necessarily mean that when you get asked the questions, you can answer the questions as well. You know what I mean? Because when I'm reading, okay, you need to respect patient confidentiality, that makes sense in my head, but that doesn't mean that I know how to rank the questions. That's my problem with the documents. But if there's like some informations that you don't know, for like I didn't know about the death certification and stuff like that, you have to do it yourself only, and no one else can do it, whatever, something like that. So those kind of informations are good to look at the GMC documents. But for the common things, I don't really think that those helped me at least. But yeah, so I would say number one, the past papers. Number two, if you feel like you need more questions, the Oxford Handbook. But we'll do this video again after the exam,
after the
and we'll
SJT.
see what we think.
Yeah.
But so far, yeah.
How I've gone about it is, so I thought I was going to start really early. I started doing past med SJT questions quite early on. Now the past med questions, take them with a pinch of salt.
I just saw 10 questions and just gave up.
It's
I
really,
didn't touch it.
a lot of the past med questions are clinical judgment, not situational judgment. A huge chunk of their questions are about mental capacity acts and this and that. England has a different mental capacity act to Scotland, to Northern Ireland, so that's just not going to be on the SJT because it's different.
It's different.
And what else? A few of the options in the past med questions were just ridiculous and were never going to be on the paper. Even some of the questions on the past paper, you're looking at them and you're like, nothing looks that ridiculous here, you know?
Yeah.
Some of the questions, there is an obvious, okay, I definitely wouldn't do this. Some of the other questions, all of the options, depending on what time of day it is, what you've had for breakfast, you know, you might look at all of the options and be like, oh, this all seems okay. So I tried to do past med and then decided to take it with a pinch of salt after doing a few questions. Every so often I still would go back to past med, do a couple of questions just to feel like I'm doing something, and that is genuinely how it makes me feel. I printed off GMC's Good Medical Guidance. Is a good medical practice, good medical something. I printed that off.
They have like a lot of documents.
They have. I just printed the one.
Like good medical practice, tomorrow's doctors,
confidentiality.
There's like end of life care.
Yes.
The guys have been on the website.
Well, and guys, I didn't know this, but you can request the documents to be sent to you.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't even know this.
Right? If it was in booklet form, I would have just been like, GMC, send them to me. Let me read them like a book and enjoy my life. But I didn't do that. I printed off good medical practice. I would say I read 60% of the guidance. Like, I genuinely did read the guidance. But like Yalda said, what it says on the paper, yeah, okay, makes complete sense. When it comes to a scenario and there's 5 options that are a little bit similar, which one do you put in front of which?
Yeah.
The guidance doesn't give context.
Exactly. The problem with SJT is not necessarily all of them are wrong or
Exactly.
right. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like when you're ranking them, like the first 3 options might be right, and
But
you
which
have
one
to
is
rank
more right?
more
Yeah.
right than the other one. And people have different opinions.
Yes.
And that's the problem with SJT. Like the answers that are on those past papers for the GMC does not necessarily mean that 100% they're right. You know what I mean? Someone can come and argue with another order,
Yeah.
and they can be right as well. So that's just the problem with it.
Honestly. So I've only just started doing the past paper. So I did the first past paper last weekend, and then the second past paper this weekend just gone. And it takes it really. So I've done the past papers in timed conditions. So I've given myself 2 hours 20 minutes, sat down, had to do it. Concentrating for that length of time is really hard. So I would recommend doing timed sessions, being like, okay, 2 hours 20 minutes, here we go, or 2 hours.
I did that for like the first time I solved them, but I think the subsequent times that you do it is not accurate because I know the answers. You know what I mean?
You've seen the questions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I tend to do
familiarity.
it quicker, so it's not just accurate. So I just don't do it any more times. But if you do it like the first time properly timed, you'll get like an accurate like estimate of how much time you need for it and what your result would be.
And also interesting is because I finished last night marking the past paper I did on Sunday, and I'm looking at their answers and their rationale. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I'm looking at mine, and I was like, mine made sense at the time that I was doing them. And some of the answers, there is no carbon copy for anything. So there's certain things where you're like, oh yes, oh definitely do this first. There's general principles, like you want to address something with the person first. But then some of the scenarios, you don't address it with the person first, you know?
With your consultant first.
So you cannot take the exact same principle and apply it across the board. It's just not. And I think that's what makes it really, really hard, especially as a medical student. We're used to learning facts.
Yeah. And what gives me anxiety is just like you don't know how, like you want to do something for the SJT to make yourself feel better that you're doing some studying for it. But at the end of the day, it's like common sense. I don't think it makes that much of a difference if you
Mhm.
constantly study for it.
True.
It's not something that you can 100% study for.
And like Nausheen was saying, the more you do, sometimes you end up confusing yourself.
Exactly.
You know, you're like,
I
well,
honestly
am
think
I
the
doing
more
this
you
or
do
am
it,
I,
like,
doing the wrong thing?
exactly.
Yeah.
So just be careful with that as well. Like, I know as much as you want to like practice, and don't use like a lot of books, and don't
Yeah.
just keep confusing yourself,
Mhm.
because I know like you want to like make yourself feel better that you're doing something. You also went for a course, right?
I did. So in terms of the courses, I'm the only one of the three of us that's been on a
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed the course. I thought it was quite helpful. So before I went on the course, I had taken a break. I decided, okay, I'm going to start doing SJT in November after I've been on this course.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite useful having someone who's the doctors taking us were surgical trainees, so they weren't consultants, but they were people that had obviously spent a lot of time trying to analyze the SJT. The best advice I think that I got on the course was address the problems. So
Yeah.
you'd get a question, for example,
Yeah.
and a lot of the questions have more than one issue. So maybe one issue is you're leaving in 10 minutes
Yeah.
and a nurse wants you to do something, but you're also doing a cardex. So rank the options that address those issues. One option might address just one issue,
Mhm.
another option might address another issue, but you want to make sure you've addressed
Both.
all of
Yeah.
the issues, if that makes
So
sense.
you want to tell the nurse like, I will come to you after I write my codex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Something like that.
you've covered the cardex, but you've also covered what the nurse has asked you to do.
Exactly.
Whereas a lot of the options might say, go to the nurse. What about the cardex?
Yeah.
So little things like that that I may not have thought about before going on the course. However, you don't need to go on a course to get that little nugget of
Yeah.
information,
Yeah.
and they're very, very, very expensive.
Yeah, they are actually,
Um,
and they're not everywhere. They just
no,
yeah.
very specific places. So course definitely not necessary. I'm in the minority, as you can see, for having gone on a course.
We still don't know if we did the right thing though.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, honestly, the course may have made zero difference to my achievement in the SJT. I won't know that now because I've done the course and I'm only going to do the SJT once,
Yeah.
God willing.
You'll be fine.
But it's made me feel better that I've gone on the course and I'm telling myself that I've taken this useful bit of
Yeah.
information, blah, blah, blah. And interestingly, that particular course so they took the past papers and they jumbled the questions, if that makes sense. So we did a 16-minute paper.
The 2 past papers.
Yes, they didn't make up any new questions.
Which is
Yeah.
good. I feel like the fact that they didn't make up new questions is good, because it's based on facts what they said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they used similar questions but changed the names or changed the age.
Okay.
So you knew you had seen something similar before.
Yeah.
And it was easier for them, I feel like, to then explain the rationale because
Yeah.
they just used the GMC rationale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't argue with that, I guess, because they're the ones that decide what's on the paper.
And don't dwell on any questions when you're practicing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but just
don't count.
move on.
Always finish.
Yeah.
SJT, you must finish because
Even if you get all the answers wrong, you still get some points.
exactly. Whereas if you have nothing written, you don't get any.
Exactly.
And you, like you were saying, print out the exact mark
Mhm.
sheet
Mm-hmm.
because you need to get used to how to answer that mark sheet because
Mm.
Yeah.
answering the mark sheet, like filling your answers in wrong,
Yeah.
lost marks.
Yeah.
And SJT, there's such, all of us would score within 2 or 3 points of each other.
Yeah.
So if you want that extra one little mark, little things
That
like
can
filling
make a
out the
lot
mark.
of difference. Like I want to
Huge.
go to London, and London is very competitive,
Exactly.
and that one point might make so much difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
So the SJT is really important. Don't
It's 50%.
underestimate
Yeah.
how important it is.
It
It's
is
really big.
50%. Like imagine everything you've done in your clinical years for 5 years, and they just count for 50.
Half.
Not even 50, but 43 points.
Yes, that's true. That's
Yeah.
your it's up to 40
It just doesn't make sense to me unless you're going for the academic program.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Like SJT probably
Doesn't
wouldn't
count
as
because they
much.
give you
Yeah, but 50% is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you don't have the top decile, if you like smash your SJT,
Yes.
Yeah.
you can still go where you want to go.
Exactly. That's it. Any parting advice? Any like top 3 things for the SJT?
Do the practice papers.
100% do the practice papers.
Yeah,
I agree.
I say go with your gut feeling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do the practice papers, and just finish it. Just move on. With
Yeah.
Finish the paper.
Finish
Finish
the
that paper.
Yes, always finish the paper. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. see you in our next video. Well, no, we'll see you after this clip. You're going to see after we've done the SJT.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I'm also going to see if I can recruit a few people to have the same chat, see how they're practicing for the SJT, and we can make a whole, like, see various things. So yes, no. See you guys
Bye,
Take
guys.
care.
after the SJT. Hopefully we're not crying.
No, hopefully not.
Bye.
Bye, guys.